the soft clink of glasses drifted through the Purple Leaf wine shop like distant wind chimes. Naima Caldwell tucked a stray curl behind her ear and stepped toward the older couple studying the Argentine Malbec on the top shelf. "That's one of my personal favorites," she said, her voice warm but practiced. "The vines sit above 6,000 feet. You can taste the minerality, the rocks they have to fight through to grow." The woman tilted her head, interested. "Have you actually been there?" "Not yet." Nima's smile held steady. "But the winemaker came through last year's festival. We talked for hours. He showed photos of the property, promised videos next time." They carried the bottle to the counter. Nima let her gaze sweep the room. 15 people tonight, exactly the intimate crowd she had always wanted for these last Friday tastings. Small tables held cheese boards and homemade sourdough. The track lights she had installed herself washed the exposed brick walls in soft amber. 6 years earlier this had been a drafty warehouse with towering ceilings and cracked mortar. Now it was hers. Every panel of wood, every fixture, every carefully curated bottle. "Nema, this is excellent," Caleb called from his usual corner table, raising his glass of Washington Syrah in salute. The silver-haired University of Arizona professor was one of her oldest regulars. "Thank you," she nodded. "I tracked down some small lot producers that haven't hit the big chains yet." Purple Leaf was never going to be a massive retailer, but it had built a loyal following that appreciated Nima's obsessive curation and attention to detail. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw her phone light up on the counter. She didn't need to look to know. "Don't wait up. Meeting a potential collector." She pressed the screen dark. 6 years ago, when they first met, she could never have imagined their life would settle into this strange, colorless coexistence. Her mind slipped back to that contemporary art opening. Makey Queenland stood in front of his installation, a chaotic construction of metal, glass, and shifting light he described as a metaphor for the fragility of human connection in the digital age. Naima had only tagged along with a friend. Modern art was not her world. Yet she found herself lingering in front of the piece, more curious about the man who made it than the work itself. "You've been standing here frozen for 15 minutes, he said, suddenly beside her. There was no arrogance in his tone, only genuine curiosity and a trace of self-mocking humor. "Either you love it or you don't understand it at all." He was 5 years older, spoke with passionate intensity, eyes bright, long fingers gesturing constantly as he explained his philosophy. When Nima admitted she knew little about contemporary art, he laughed, not cruelly. "Honesty is rare at these things," he said. "Everyone pretends to see the profound meaning while they're really just calculating price tags and status." A week later he invited her to his studio, a spacious loft with huge windows and high ceilings. Canvases leaned against walls, wire sculptures dangled from beams, charcoal sketches covered every surface. The air felt alive with creative heat. "I want to make something real," he told her, showing piece after piece. "Something that forces people to think, to feel, to question." Makey never spoke in clichés. He always found an unexpected angle. He pulled her into a world where the ordinary dissolved and beauty appeared in strange places. "I don't paint pretty landscapes for hotel lobbies," he explained. "The market wants comfortable, decorative work. That's not art. Art should unsettle." Naima believed in his talent. She believed in his sincerity. She did not yet know that the passionate artist with fire in his eyes would soon vanish, leaving only a shadow. She did not yet know that 3 years after their wedding, Makey would spend his days sprawled on the sofa, scrolling social media, complaining about the soulless art market and the banality of critics. The tasting wound down. Nima said goodnight to the last guests and began tidying. It was nearly 11 when she stepped into the small bungalow in the Sam Hughes neighborhood. Makey was not home, but traces of him were everywhere: an unfinished coffee cup on the side table, art magazines scattered across the floor, a half-eaten sandwich abandoned in the kitchen. She sank onto the sofa, exhausted. This house had once been their shared project, picked together, painted together, dreamed over. Now it felt more like his territory. His things were everywhere. He himself was almost never there. 2 years earlier he had been excited about a new series, talking nonstop about a Santa Fe exhibition. The gallerist lost interest. The show never happened. Makey slipped into a creative paralysis he never escaped. At first Nima sympathized, encouraged, brainstormed ideas with him. But as months turned into years and he stopped even trying, her patience frayed. He spoke of gathering energy and reevaluating his path, But mostly he sat online, tearing down more successful artists and nursing grievances about his lack of recognition. The front door slammed at midnight. Maki came in smelling of whiskey and cigarettes. "How was the collector meeting?" Nima asked, keeping her tone neutral. "Didn't show. He tossed his jacket over a chair. Texted at the last minute. Some emergency, supposedly. I'm sorry," she said, though she doubted the collector existed. "I knew you'd be thrilled." His voice turned sharp. "You like it when I stay the loser." Nima sighed. These accusations had become routine. "Don't be ridiculous, Maki. I've always supported your work, right?" He gave a bitter laugh. "You just keep reminding me I don't earn anything." "I never said that. Not in so many words. But you talk constantly about how hard it is to run the shop, how many hours you put in. Because it's true. You work hard and you love it." Maki opened the fridge, pulled out a beer. "Of course, you're the successful businesswoman. I'm nothing. Stop the self-pity. It isn't productive." "Not productive." He laughed again, strained. "You even sound like a corporate executive. Everything has to be useful." Nema felt irritation rise. "Then how should I talk? Should I just nod along to your complaints? You haven't painted a single canvas in a year. You don't even try." "Oh yeah." He met her eyes challenging. "Do you know what it means to be an artist? Creativity doesn't run on a schedule. It's not your tidy little shop where everything can be planned." "But it does require at least some effort," she countered. "You gave up. Easy for you to say. Your father gave you the down payment for the shop. That was a sore point. Money had provided the initial money, yes, but Nima had repaid every cent, taken out loans, worked 16-hour days for the first 2 years. I paid Dad back to the last penny," she said, voice trembling with resentment. "And you know it. I've also paid your studio rent out of my own pocket for the last 3 years. There it is." He raised a finger triumphantly. "Finally, out of my pocket. It always comes down to money." "No. It comes down to your attitude." Nima's voice hardened. "I wouldn't mind helping financially if I saw you even trying to create, but you sit here criticizing everyone else and waiting for success to drop from the sky." Maki's face twisted. "You don't understand. The art world is a racket. No connections, no ass-kissing, no chance. But other artists. Ooh, the ones churning out tourist junk? Or the corporate sellouts? There are other paths," she insisted. "You could teach, run workshops. Now you're an art expert." Venom dripped from the words. "Maybe you can teach me how to paint. Or should I just get a job at the grocery store?" Nema closed her eyes and exhaled slowly. These fights followed the same depressing script. Maki twisted every conversation into an accusation against her, wielding guilt like a weapon. "I don't want to fight," she said finally. "We just can't keep going like this." "Why?" he sneered. "Aren't you the one who can't accept that her husband doesn't meet her expectations? You want to be proud of me in front of your rich clients." "Oh, my husband is such a famous artist. You don't even care about the art. You don't understand what I do." "That's not fair," Nema said quietly. "I've always supported your work. Remember 3 years ago when I organized an exhibition of your pieces right here in the shop?" "Yeah, a charity event," he grimaced. "Let's help the poor struggling artist." "Thanks so much." "You're impossible." She shook her head. "No matter what I do, you twist it." Maki finished the beer and set the bottle down hard. "Maybe we don't need to talk anymore. Maybe it would be easier for you to find someone more successful, a financial analyst, a lawyer. Someone you can brag about." "Stop." Nema stood. "I'm done with this tonight." She walked toward the bedroom. "Go ahead. Run away," he called after her. "That's what you always do. Avoid the problem instead of solving it." Nema closed the bedroom door and leaned against it. These arguments drained every ounce of her strength. She couldn't remember the last time she had felt truly happy with him, when exactly the passion had curdled into bitterness, when his creative fire had turned to self-pity. She crossed to the window and pulled back the curtain. The Tucson night sky was thick with stars. Somewhere in this city, other couples still loved each other, supported each other, inspired each other. She remembered sitting with Maki on the porch of their new home, dreaming aloud. He spoke of opening his own gallery. She talked about expanding Purple Leaf. They planned trips, France, Italy, wines she would import, landscapes that would spark his next series. Where had it all gone? How could consuming passion become this endless stream of blame and disappointment? Nima lay awake for hours, listening to the television murmur from the living room. She didn't need to see him to know what he was doing sprawled on the sofa, beer in hand, scrolling through art world gossip, mocking other people's success, finding fresh proof for his private conspiracy theory that true talent was always suppressed. I can't live like this anymore, she thought, staring at the ceiling. It wasn't the first time the thought had come. But tonight it felt final. Makey had become a selfish child, demanding constant attention and support while giving nothing back. He was a parasite on her patience, her kindness, her finances. And there was no end in sight. Part 2, approximately 3,000 words, refined narration in English, second section of the full story. The Arizona sun beat down mercilessly on Evergreen Cemetery, forcing the dark-suited mourners to cluster under the sparse shade of old mesquite trees. Nima stood beside the fresh grave, clutching a bouquet of white lilies. Her father's favorite. Monty Caldwell had always said there was something aristocratic about their stark beauty, unchanging and unapologetic, much like the principles that had guided his life. The minister spoke of eternal rest and divine mercy, but the words reached Nima as if filtered through deep water. Her mind drifted between fragments of memory and the sharp, irreversible fact of loss. Monty had died suddenly, a massive heart attack during a business meeting. He went the way he had lived in a tailored suit, mid-sentence about investments, no time for goodbyes. Formal, reserved, focused to the end. A light touch on her elbow pulled her back. Makey stood beside her, face arranged in appropriate grief, but his eyes remained distant, almost clinical. He wore a dark suit she hadn't seen in years, not since a major exhibition opening in Phoenix. "Are you okay?" he asked quietly. Nima nodded, throat too tight for words. It was difficult to gauge how much of his concern was genuine. The relationship between Makey and Monty had always been strained. Her father, pragmatic to his core, had never hidden his skepticism about his son-in-law's chosen path. "Art is a fine hobby," Monty had said once years earlier, "but a man should provide something more reliable for his family." Those words had cut Makey deeply. He responded with chilly politeness that barely masked contempt. Typical materialist, he would mutter to Nima afterward. To him, only what can be measured in dollars has value. The ceremony ended. People approached Nima one by one. Condolences, brief hugs, promises to call. Makey lingered nearby at first, then drifted toward a cluster of Monty's business partners in their crisp suits. Nima noticed. In the past he had avoided the suits, as he called them. Now he was animated, nodding, even typing notes on his phone. Nema? The quiet voice belonged to Veronica, her father's executive assistant of 20 years, a woman in her mid-50s with kind brown eyes and unflappable calm. "Do you need anything? Water?" "No, thank you." Nima managed a faint smile. "I'm okay?" "Eugene would like a word when you're ready," Veronica said, nodding toward a gray-haired man standing a short distance away. "About the will and formalities." Eugene Brooks, Monty's longtime lawyer and family friend, caught her eye and approached. "My deepest condolences," he said, shaking her hand gently. "Monty was an extraordinary man, thank you." Nima's voice was steady now. "I'll call you next week. We can talk then." "Of course. No rush today." After the cemetery, a memorial luncheon was held at the country club where Monty had been a member for 3 decades. Nima sat at the head table, responding mechanically to condolences, making small talk that felt hollow. Makey moved through the room with surprising ease. Charming, sociable, almost buoyant. She watched him laugh at something one of the older men said, then lean in to speak quietly with Eugene Brooks. The conversation looked serious, even heated. Later in the car, Nema drove while Makey sat in the passenger seat. She had expected him to offer, given her state, but he said nothing. "What were you and Eugene talking about?" she asked, eyes on the road. "Just offering condolences." Makey shrugged. "He's an old family friend, isn't he?" She gave him a sidelong glance. It didn't look like casual conversation. "You were arguing." He was silent for a beat, then sighed. "Fine. I asked about the will." Nima's grip tightened on the wheel. "You asked about my father's will on the day of his funeral." "When else?" He sounded genuinely puzzled. "It's a practical question. Your father was a wealthy man. You're his only child. We need to know where we stand." "What?" "Yes, we." He emphasized the word. "I'm your husband. What a wife inherits concerns her husband." Nema focused on breathing evenly. "What exactly did you ask? When the announcement would be made?" "What assets are included? Any restrictions?" "Standard questions," Makey said, and Eugene gave the usual lawyer answer. Everything at the appropriate time. They drove in silence for several blocks. Then Makey spoke again, softer. Look, I know you're grieving, but we have to think about the future. The inheritance could change everything. Pay off loans, maybe buy a bigger place. I could finally focus on my art without financial pressure. The words landed like stones. Her father had been buried only hours earlier, and Makey was already budgeting the money. You're unbelievable, she said quietly. In what way? Because you're not even pretending not to care about my father's money, a man you always despised. I didn't despise him, Makey frowned. We just saw life differently. And yes, I've never hidden that I need resources to develop my work. What's wrong with that? Great artists have always had patrons. Most of them actually created great work, Nima said. They didn't lie on the couch with a beer, complaining about how unfair the world is. Makey's face darkened. You still don't understand the creative process. You think it's like running your shop, buy, sell, spreadsheet. Art requires suffering, searching, sometimes long periods of nothing. Despair. You wouldn't get it. Nema pulled into the driveway and killed the engine. This isn't the time for that conversation. My father died 3 days ago. I buried him today. I need space to grieve. Of course. Makey nodded, suddenly thoughtful. I'm sorry, I'm just worried about our future. Inside, Nima changed into comfortable clothes and lay down, exhaustion pressing her into the mattress. Makey came in several times asking if she needed water, tea, anything. His concern felt rehearsed. Later she sat on the porch alone, watching the sunset turn the sky orange and pink. She remembered Monty teaching her to ride a bike, helping with math homework, beaming quietly at her college graduation. He had not been a demonstrative father, too strict, too focused on work, but he had loved her in his way. He had wanted the best for her. You know, she said aloud to the empty air, Dad always wanted me to get an MBA. Said I couldn't grow the shop seriously without one. He was right. Makey's voice came from the doorway. He stepped out, hands in pockets. Your business could have been much bigger by now. Maybe with the inheritance you could expand. Open a chain, add a wine bar. It's not about scaling up. Nima shook her head. I like the small shop. The personal connection with every customer. That's fear of ambition, Makey said. Your father was right about that, too. She looked at him in surprise. Since when do you agree with my father? He shrugged. I can recognize when someone's correct, even if I don't share his values. Monty was a successful businessman. I respect that now. The sudden reversal felt off. Only weeks earlier Makey had refused a family dinner, calling it bourgeois nonsense. Too bad you didn't say that when he was alive, she said dryly. Yes, it is a shame. Makey nodded with exaggerated solemnity. We might have found common ground. Nema said nothing. The shift in tone, the sudden respect, it all smelled of calculation, of anticipation. The next morning she woke to the sound of drawers opening. Makey was rummaging through her desk. What are you doing? Looking for Eugene's number. He didn't stop. I want to schedule a meeting with him. For what? To discuss the inheritance details. Nema sat up. Eugene is my father's lawyer, not ours. He'll speak to me about inheritance matters, not you. But I'm your husband. Irritation crept into his voice. We should handle this together. No. Her tone was firm. This is my relationship with my father. When the will is read, I'll tell you what you need to know. Makey straightened, face flushing. You don't trust me. It's not about trust. It's about respect. For me, and for my father's memory. Oh, please, he scoffed. Your father always treated me like a second-class citizen. Never thought I was good enough for his precious daughter. He was concerned about my well-being, Nema said. He thought, don't defend him. Makey cut her off. He was a snob who valued people by the thickness of their wallet. And honestly, maybe it's better he's gone. At least now his money will go to something worthwhile instead of another pointless investment. Nema froze. The cruelty of the words hit like a slap. What did you just say? Makey seemed to realize he had crossed a line, but he didn't back down. I'm just saying his capital will be more useful to us than it ever was to him. She felt something cold settle in her chest. The man in front of her was suddenly a stranger. Get out of my room, she said quietly. Nema, you're being overly sensitive. Get out. Louder now. Now. He raised his hands in mock surrender and left. Nema sank back onto the bed, hands shaking. She had suspected for a long time that the marriage was dying. Only now did she see the full depth of the divide. My father was right, she thought. Monty had seen through Makey from the beginning. His selfishness, his parasitic nature, his talent for manipulation. In that moment, clarity arrived like a blade. She would not continue this charade. She would not let Makey touch the legacy her father had built over a lifetime. She would not let him drain what she had created, her shop, her reputation, her life. She stood, walked to the mirror, and studied her reflection, pale, shadowed eyes, but a new determination there, sharp and familiar. It was her father's look, the one he wore when he made a hard decision. Nema took a slow breath and let it out. It was time to end this. The morning felt unusually cool for Tosin. Nema woke early and lay staring at the ceiling, listening to Makey's faint snores through the wall. After the confrontation the night before, she had moved to the guest room, slamming the door on his muttered accusations of drama and hysteria. Even a week ago, the word divorce had felt terrifying, impossible. Now it brought a strange calm, as if a decision long overdue had finally been made. Makey's words about her father had been the final crack in the illusion. She showered, dressed in simple jeans and a white blouse, and brewed strong black coffee. Sitting at the kitchen table, she opened her laptop and began reading about Arizona divorce law, community property rules, asset division, spousal rights. The more she read, the more certain she became. Arizona was a community property state, but inheritances remained separate property unless commingled. The shop had been founded before the marriage, though its increased value during the marriage could be contested. She closed the laptop when she heard Makey's footsteps. Morning. He yawned, heading straight for the coffee maker as if nothing had happened. She said nothing. He poured a cup, sat opposite her, and took a sip. About last night. I overreacted. Your father was a good man. I respected him. We just clashed sometimes. Nema watched him. The pivot was so smooth, so practiced. Push her to the edge, then feign remorse to pull her back into guilt. I want a divorce, Makey, she said calmly. His cup froze halfway to his mouth. What? I want a divorce. She repeated it without raising her voice. This marriage stopped working a long time ago. We're both miserable. Makey set the cup down slowly. You can't be serious. This is about yesterday, just an argument. Every couple fights. It's not about yesterday. She shook her head. Yesterday just made clear what I've felt for months. We're not compatible anymore. You want one kind of life. I want another. It's not just money or careers. It's values, priorities, the way we treat each other. His expression shifted, concern giving way to irritation. And you tell me this now, right after your father dies, right when you're about to inherit. His voice rose. What a coincidence. The inheritance has nothing to do with it, she said. This is about us. Oh, don't play innocent. He cut her off. You've got it all planned. Get the money, then get rid of me so you don't have to share. Very clever. Nema shook her head. You're proving my point. Everything circles back to money for you. Makey stood abruptly, chair scraping. If you want a divorce, fine. But don't think I'm walking away with nothing. Half of everything is mine, the shop, the house, the cars. And yes, the inheritance, too. The inheritance is separate property, she said evenly. Legally. You started the shop before we married, sure. He leaned forward. But you grew it during the marriage. Any decent lawyer will tell you the increase in value is community property. Nema was taken aback by how prepared he sounded. He had clearly been researching this for some time. I'm not going to argue law with you, she said. That's what lawyers are for. Ah, so you've already hired one? He laughed bitterly. Planning behind my back. Perfect. I haven't hired anyone yet. But I will, and you should too. You can count on it. He nodded grimly. My lawyer will take you for every dime. You'll regret this. Nema stood. The only thing I regret is not doing it sooner. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a meeting. With who? Doesn't matter. She headed for the door. I'll be back tonight. I hope by then you'll have calmed down and we can discuss this like adults. Makey followed her. Don't think you can just walk away and take everything. I know my rights. I'm going to make you pay for all the years you looked down on me, thought I was a loser. I never thought you were a loser, Makey. She paused at the door. That's how you see yourself. Don't psychoanalyze me. He grabbed her arm, hard enough that she gasped. You think you're so smart. You think you've got this all figured out. I'll drag this divorce out until you're begging to settle. Nema pulled free and stepped back. You're only making it worse. Let go. You're not leaving until we finish this. What exactly belongs to you? Her anger finally boiled over. The shop I built with my own hands while you lay on the couch complaining, the money I earned, the inheritance from a father who saw right through you. Maikie's face contorted with rage. You've been using me for years. You wanted an artist around to look cultured in front of your snobby clients. Oh, my husband is so creative. You never believed in me. Never supported me. I spent thousands on your exhibitions, your studio, your supplies, she shot back. I introduced you to people who could help your career. I tolerated your moods, your drinking, your endless excuses. What more could I have done? Belief, he shouted. Real belief in my talent, not treating it like a cute little hobby you had to endure. I did believe, she said, softer now, but you stopped believing in yourself, you gave up. And now you want to blame everyone, especially me. Maikie laughed, a cold, ugly sound. You know what? Divorce is a great idea. I'll get my share of the business, my share of the inheritance, and I can finally make art without your constant nagging and condescending looks. You won't touch the inheritance, she said firmly. It's protected. We'll see. He smirked. I'll get a shark of a lawyer. 6 years of marriage, half of everything. Legally. Not half the inheritance. Money's money. He waved a hand. You'll pay for what you did to me. For the rest of your life. The malice in his voice crystallized everything. This was not the man she had loved. This was a greedy, vindictive stranger who would burn everything down for a payout. I'm leaving, she said, pushing past him and opening the door. If we can do this peacefully, it'll be better for both of us. Peacefully. He laughed behind her. No, darling. It won't be peaceful. I promise you that. Nema stepped outside, hands trembling as she pulled her keys from her pocket. She got into the car but didn't start the engine right away. She sat breathing deeply, letting the adrenaline settle. Maikie's rage had been predictable, but the naked greed still shocked her. 10 minutes later she parked in front of Eugene Brooks's downtown office building. She hadn't planned the visit, but her car had driven there almost on its own. She needed advice from someone she could trust. Eugene saw her immediately. You look shaken, he said, gesturing to a chair. What happened? I told Maikie I want a divorce. She sat. He didn't take it well. Eugene nodded. I can imagine. Threats, mostly financial. He thinks he's entitled to half of everything, including the inheritance. That's not correct, Eugene said firmly. An inheritance is separate property unless it's commingled, but divorce can get ugly. He'll fight. Nema exhaled. I know him. Eugene removed his glasses and polished them, a habit when he was thinking. Perhaps now is the time to tell you about an unusual provision in your father's will. I was going to discuss it at the formal reading, but circumstances have changed. Nema leaned forward. What provision? Your father was cautious. He never fully trusted Maikie. He worried your husband might try to claim your inheritance in a conflict, so he took steps. What steps? You created the Caldwell Family Trust. Eugene opened a file. All of Monty's assets go into the trust. You are the sole beneficiary, but with protections. The assets are shielded from spousal claims and divorce. It's airtight. Your father consulted the best family law attorneys in the state. Nema felt a weight lift. So Maikie can't touch it. Not only can he not touch it, he can't even challenge it effectively in court. The structure is designed to withstand scrutiny. And the business. The shop's premarital, but the appreciation in value during marriage could be claimed as community. Eugene smiled faintly. Your father thought of that too. In his final months he hired a private investigator, just in case. Nema frowned. A private investigator. Monty suspected Maikie might not be faithful. Unfortunately he was correct. Eugene slid a folder across the desk. Photographs. Evidence of infidelity. Also some financial irregularities. Attempted loans with falsified documents. Questionable tax filings. Nothing catastrophic, but enough to shift leverage significantly in a divorce. Nema opened the folder. The photos showed Maikie with different women. Intimate moments, dates, hotel lobbies. She felt no surge of jealousy, only deep tiredness and confirmation. I don't want to use this unless I have to, she said, closing the folder. I'd prefer to keep it civil. Of course. Eugene agreed. But if he turns aggressive, we have tools. The will reading is next week. Maikie can attend as your spouse, but it changes nothing legally. The trust is protected. Nema nodded, a quiet calm settling over her. Even in death, her father was still protecting her. shielding her from the one person she had once trusted most. "Thank you, Eugene," she said, standing, "for seeing me today. For everything. My door is always open for Monty Caldwell's daughter." He smiled. "And remember, no matter what Makey threatens, he cannot touch the inheritance. Your father made sure of that." As she left the building, Naima felt her spine straighten. The road ahead would be difficult. Divorce proceedings, asset fights, perhaps public ugliness if Makey followed through on his promises. But she was no longer facing it alone. Her father's hand still reached across time to guard her. Part 3, approximately 3,000 words, refined narration in English. Third section of the full story. The office of Leonard Simons and Associates occupied a sleek glass building in Tucson's small but growing financial district. Nima sat in a low leather chair, watching Martha Leonard flip through the thick stack of documents the process server had delivered that morning. Martha was in her late 40s, sharp-eyed, with the calm authority of someone who had seen every variety of marital warfare. She set the papers down and met Nima's gaze. "It's ambitious," she said simply. "Your husband is clearly serious." Nema managed a small, tired smile. "What exactly does he want?" Martha ticked off the list without flourish. "Half the equity value of the house, half the increased value of Purple Leaf since the marriage, spousal maintenance for a term, 5 years minimum, and, of course, a share of the inheritance, plus a claim for emotional distress, based on alleged psychological pressure from you during the marriage." "Emotional distress?" Nima almost laughed. "That's absurd. Standard opening move from Raymond Prescott," Martha explained. "He always starts high and ugly, so anything he concedes later looks like generosity." "Don't take it personally, yet." Nema rubbed her temples. Only a week had passed since she told Makey she wanted out. He had moved his things to a cheap studio apartment the next day, mostly art supplies, a few suitcases, and several pieces he claimed were irreplaceable. On the third day, word came that he had retained Prescott, a lawyer notorious in Tucson for aggressive, scorched earth divorce tactics. "How do we respond?" Nima asked. "We counter," Martha said, firmly. "We emphasize that the shop was founded pre-marriage, that its growth came from your sole efforts, long hours, personal loans, your expertise. The house we can negotiate, the inheritance is untouchable thanks to the trust. Spousal support. We'll argue he's capable of working and has chosen not to. Emotional distress. We'll dismiss it outright." Nema nodded slowly. "And the evidence from Eugene?" Martha tapped the second folder on her desk. "The one containing the private investigator's report. We'll hold it in reserve. Infidelity photos, the attempted fraudulent loan application using forged ownership documents for the shop, questionable tax moves, its leverage. If Prescott pushes too hard, we hint that we have material that could make his client look very bad in court, or even trigger criminal interest. Most lawyers will advise settlement once they see the risk." "I don't want to use it unless we have no choice," Nima said quietly. "It would humiliate everyone involved." "I understand," Martha replied. "But sometimes the threat alone is enough. Prescott's experienced. He'll read between the lines." Nema left the office feeling hollowed out. Every meeting like this chipped away at her energy. She drove home on autopilot, parked, and sat in the car for several long minutes with her eyes closed. Her phone rang. Rona's name flashed on the screen. "How was the lawyer?" Rowena asked the moment Nima answered. "New demands. New accusations, the usual." "That bastard," Rowena said without hesitation. "Sorry, not sorry." Nima gave a faint laugh. "It's okay. I've called him worse in my head." "Listen," Rowena continued, voice shifting to determined brightness. "You need a break from all this. Come over tonight. I'm making seafood pasta. We'll open that Barolo you brought back from last year's buying trip. No divorce talk. Promise." Nema exhaled, grateful. "That sounds perfect." "Thank you, Rowena Xavier had been her closest friend since their business, school days. They had dreamed big back then, Nema of a wine shop, Rowena of an antique store. Both dreams had come true, though Purple Leaf had grown into a real business while Rowena's place remained more passion project than profit center. The imbalance had never caused friction. Their friendship was deeper than balance sheets. That evening, Nema parked in front of Rowena's colorful bungalow a few blocks from her own. The front yard was a riot of desert blooms, bougainvillea, salvia lantana. Rowena opened the door before Nema could knock. "Finally," she said, pulling Nema into a hug. "I was starting to think you'd bail." Rowena was small, red-haired, freckled, and radiated an energy that could light a room. Tonight she wore a bright turquoise dress that matched her optimism. "Sorry, shop ran late," Nima said. "Doesn't matter. You're here now." The living room table was already set, candles, linen napkins, 2 wine glasses waiting. The kitchen smelled of garlic, shrimp, and fresh herbs. "I opened the Barolo," Rona said, pouring. "Figured we earned it." They ate slowly, talking about safe things. Rowena's latest antique finds, a new exhibit at the Tucson Museum of Art, vacation plans that might never happen. Gradually the knot in Nima's chest loosened. Halfway through the second glass, Rowena set her fork down. "I've been thinking," she said. "You need a new chapter. Not just the divorce. I mean something bigger." Nima raised an eyebrow. "Like what?" "Remember our old dream, a combined business, wine shop plus antiques. We even had a name, Vines and Times." Nema smiled despite herself. "I remember. We were going to put a tasting bar next to display cases of vintage glassware and old maps." "Exactly." Rowena leaned forward. "Why not now? You'll have the inheritance soon. I've got some savings. We could find a bigger space, merge our inventories. Wine tastings paired with art and antiques. It would be unique." The idea sparked something warm in Nima's chest. "It's tempting. Especially now. But with the divorce still ongoing." "That's exactly why now," Rowena interrupted gently. "Anything you start after the divorce is finalized is yours alone. He can't touch it. You need something that's completely separate from him. Something he can never claim or poison." Nema considered it. The vision felt like light after months of shadow. "Let's talk seriously after the will reading and the first hearing. If things go smoothly, I'm in." Rowena raised her glass. "To new beginnings." They clinked. For the first time in weeks, Nema felt the possibility of hope. The next morning Nema returned to routine. She opened Purple Leaf at her usual time, checked inventory, met a supplier for a small allocation of raw Arni Valley Reds. The familiar rhythm steadied her. Around noon Martha called. "Prescott wants an informal meeting," she said. "Preliminary settlement discussion. No court, no stenographer, just the 4 of us in a neutral conference room." "What's his angle?" Nema asked, pulse quickening. "Testing the waters. He may be sniffing for weakness, or he may already sense the trust makes his inheritance claim hopeless. Either way, it's worth hearing him out." Nema thought for a moment. "Let's do it, if there's any chance of settling without a long fight. Don't count on easy," Martha warned. "Prescott plays dirty. But we'll be ready." The meeting was scheduled for the following week. Nema tried to focus on work, but her mind kept drifting to the upcoming confrontation and to the will reading the day after. That afternoon her headache became blinding. She closed early, went home, showered and lay down. Sleep refused to come. Instead her thoughts spun Maki's threats, the trust protections, the investigator's folder she still hadn't fully looked through. The next morning an unknown number rang, a young woman's voice hesitant. "Is this Nema Caldwell?" "Yes." "Who is this?" "My name is Lila Woods." "You don't know me, but I think we should talk. It's about your husband." Nema's stomach dropped. She knew the name from the photos in Eugene's file, but hearing the voice made it real. "I'm not sure I want to discuss this," she said carefully. "Please," Layla said, almost whispering. "It's important. Not just for you, for me too. He's been using people. You deserve to know. And I have something that might help you." After a long pause, Nema agreed to meet at a quiet coffee shop downtown. Layla was already there when Nema arrived. Mid-20s, dark hair, large brown eyes, nervous fingers twisting a napkin. She looked fragile, like someone carrying too much. "Thank you for coming," Layla said as Nema sat. "This is awkward." "I know." Very Nema agreed. Layla took a breath. "I met Maki at a gallery opening 8 months ago. He was charming. Talked about his art, his vision. We started seeing each other. He told me you two were basically separated, just waiting on paperwork." Nema's jaw tightened. 8 months ago they had still shared a bed, still eaten breakfast together most mornings. "But that's not why I'm here," Layla continued. "In the last few weeks, since your father passed," he changed. "All he talked about was the inheritance. How much it would be, how he'd get his share, how it would fund his gallery dreams. Yesterday he sent me this." She slid her phone across the table. The text read everything on track. "We'll have enough for the gallery soon. Her father left a fortune. Half is mine. Prescott knows what he's doing. News after Wednesday." Nema read it twice, then handed the phone back. "So he's not just cheating," she said quietly. "He's counting on the money. Planning with you." Lila nodded, eyes filling. I thought he cared about me. He promised to introduce me to collectors, help my career. But once he met the people he wanted, he got cold, distant. Then the inheritance talk started. I realized I was just useful. Why show me this? Nima asked. Because he used me the way he's using everyone. And I don't want to be part of hurting you more. You can use the message if it helps. I'll testify if you need me to. Nema studied the younger woman. There was no malice there, only regret and a quiet resolve. Thank you, she said finally. This helps me see the full picture. Layla gave a small, sad smile. I'm sorry, for all of it. When Nima got home, she called Martha immediately and forwarded a screenshot of the text. This is gold, Martha said. Especially if she's willing to testify. It shows premeditation, planning to claim half the inheritance before the will is even read. It undercuts any good faith argument Prescott might try. I don't want to drag her through court if I can avoid it, Nima said. Mackey's already hurt her enough. Your call, Martha replied. But keep it in your pocket. Prescott won't play fair at the meeting. We need every advantage. The informal settlement conference was held in a bland hotel conference room downtown. Nima arrived with Martha, dressed in a tailored navy blazer and trousers, professional armor. Mackey and Prescott were already seated. Mackey wore a dark suit, hair neatly combed. He looked more like a junior executive than the brooding artist she had married. Prescott stood, all sharp angles and sharper eyes. Thank you for coming. We're here to explore settlement possibilities. They sat, Mackey across from Nima. His gaze was unreadable, anger, calculation, something almost like anticipation. Prescott opened. My client is prepared to be reasonable if the offer reflects the length of the marriage and his contributions to the household. Martha smiled thinly. We're open to reasonable. What are your terms? Prescott recited a slightly softened version of the original demands, reduced spousal support, dropped emotional distress claim, but still half the house equity, half the business appreciation and, most insistently, a portion of the inheritance. We recognize the inheritance is separate on paper, Prescott said smoothly, but given 6 years of marriage and Mr. Queenland's support of the family unit, equity demands some recognition of those funds as community contribution. Martha countered methodically. Pre-marital business, Nima's sole labor in growing it, clear statutory protection for inheritances. They would discuss the house and personal property acquired during marriage. Nothing else. Mackey shifted, face reddening. This is ridiculous. I've been there for 6 years, supporting her, helping with the shop. Mackey, Prescott said quietly, hand on his arm. Let me handle this. But Mackey wasn't listening. She always does this. Plays the victim while she manipulates everyone. She used me, and now she wants to discard me like trash. Martha's voice stayed level. Mr. Queenland, control yourself. Emotional outbursts won't help negotiations. Prescott tried to steer back to numbers. After 45 minutes of circling, no real progress had been made. Perhaps a break, Martha suggested. We can reconvene after the will reading tomorrow. New information may clarify things. Prescott nodded reluctantly. Agreed. As they rose to leave, Mackey caught Nima in the hallway. You think you've won, don't you? He hissed. You think your father planned everything perfectly. Please, Mackey, she said warily. Not here. You'll regret this, he continued, voice low. I know things about you no one else does. Believe me. I'll use whatever I have to get what's mine. Martha stepped between them. Mr. Queenland, making veiled threats in front of witnesses is unwise. It can be construed as coercion. It won't help you in court. Mackey glared, then turned and stalked toward the elevator where Prescott waited. Nima watched him go. What did he mean? I know things about you. Probably bluffing, Martha said. Classic tactic, plant doubt, make you second guess. Don't bite. But the seed was planted. Nima had no secrets she could think of, no hidden affairs, no financial misdeeds, nothing that could derail her case. Still, Mackey's certainty unnerved her. That night Rowena came over with wine and chocolate. They sat on the porch under the stars. How are you feeling about tomorrow? Rowena asked. Nervous, Nima admitted. Not about the trust. Eugene says it's ironclad. But Mackey's words today, he implied he has something on me. Rowena snorted. He's trying to rattle you. Classic abuser move. Make you doubt your own reality. Don't let him in your head. I know. Nima sighed. But it still creeps under my skin. Like he's been digging, waiting for dirt. What could he possibly have? Rowena asked. You're the most straightforward person I know. You haven't exactly been robbing banks on the side. Nema laughed despite herself. No bodies in the basement. Then raise a glass. Rowena lifted hers. To tomorrow going smoothly. To justice? To justice? Nema echoed. They clinked glasses under the desert sky. Nema tried to project calm, but inside dread coiled tight. Tomorrow could shift everything. If the trust held as promised, Makey's leverage would crumble. If he had somehow found a vulnerability, she pushed the thought away. Whatever came, she would face it.